welcome to my quick look at Cubase 7, where I'm going to give you a quick tour of what I've found so far. I've had it a few weeks now, it came out a month ago, and hopefully I can help you make up your mind whether it's worth buying or upgrading. Now, if you have not used Cubase before and you're looking to buy it for the first time, or you're looking to switch from another DAW, I can tell you straight away it's a great piece of software. It's well worth that sort of money. The question, I guess, for people is whether it's worth upgrading from an earlier version of Cubase, and that's what I'm going to discuss here briefly. Okay, now this workspace window you probably recognise very little has changed except the colouring, which isn't much to talk about really. I'll come back to a couple of things here later on, but what I really want to concentrate on is this, their new mix console. This is what they've advertised as being one of the main new features. Now, it certainly does look very good. It has disappointed me in some ways though as well, which is one of the reasons that prompted me to make this video. It looks brilliant, and there are some good features as well, but there's enough niggles that I have with it that made me want to let other people know about it. One of the good things, if we right click here, we can full screen it, which is great. Look at that, that looks really cool. And it gives us lots of room to work with. Another good feature is the customization. Lots of customizing we can do here. One of the most important is this channel selector down this left hand side here, and click on any one and it would take me to that. You can minimize and maximize your different VSTs. Makes it very handy when you've got a full project. This is a very small one I've just opened for an example. When you've got like a 30 or 40 track project, that becomes very handy. Get rid of that for now though, because that's not needed anymore. On the other side, the control room and meter bridge here, minimum maximum loudnesses, that sort of thing, pretty good. It's a pretty good addition, but to be honest, I find that I still turn to my waves ones, so it's nice having that there as an option. But if you've got other ones, I don't really see why you really particularly need this one. Go back to the master here, you can see along the top the different type of scales. It's aimed more at broadcasters, I think, who need to keep their loudnesses and their dynamic range very specific. Not really overly useful for your average home recording person. I'm going to get rid of that again because I don't tend to really use that. The main interest is really the way they've designed the new top half. As you can see, everything is really collapsed down. We've got our routing, which is our showing where the ins and outs are all going. That hasn't really changed very much. You've got your standard drop downs. Everything's now ordered a bit more sensibly. The preamp they've improved, as well as being able to change the gain and the phase. They've also added in high and low pass filters, although they've called them high cut and low cut, which I believe is going against the standard procedure, but that's Cubase for you. They often decide they want to change things around, which can be a bit frustrating. Okay, next in line we have inserts. This hasn't changed much really. You've got your 6 normal inserts and 2 master or end inserts there. Drop down lists have been ordered a bit better. All of your presets are now available under the same sort of categories that they introduced in Cubase 5, but as you can see, it looks a bit nicer. And there's a search function now as well, which is pretty good. What can annoy me is accidentally clicking in one of these areas, hitting escape. I had to hit it twice there to get rid of that menu, and when you're doing that, 10 times in a session, it starts to get annoying. Escape should work. My escape key works fine in every other program, but in Cubase 7 it seems I have to hit it 2 or 3 times every time I want to close a menu, which can get a bit frustrating. Also, you need to now double click on as you can see there, another example of that, which is a bit annoying. Double click on a insert to bring it up, and occasionally the double clicking doesn't work either. Once or twice, not a problem, but when you're clicking on these 50 to 100 times an hour sometimes, it really does get a bit frustrating. I mean, it's not going to make me stop using it, but they really need to sort that out. Moving on to EQ, this is the Studio EQ. They've now included this in the strip. You used to have to push the little E button down here, which will come onto the E buttons shortly. It's now available in your strip. Again, what slightly annoys me is although you can see the EQ curves here, you can accidentally, as you're moving around, click. It's too easy to do that. Now, you can double click to remove, but you see I'm trying to come off the window and I'm having to click elsewhere, which will make me accidentally put another curve in somewhere. The design of that is not great, and I tend to keep the EQ closed at all times. You can remove it. You can remove it under channel types or racks, I think it is. I can get rid of that completely. There you see it disappears, and that's great. But when it's there, you don't want to be having to tiptoe around these things. Next thing in line, the strip. This is one of the big things they've gone on about, and this is what really disappointed me. They've included what they call channel buses for gate compression. They're showing where the EQ is, and you can move it up and down if you wanted to. A transient shaper, envelope shaper there, and saturator and a limiter. Now, I would say, from what I've tried of all of these, the saturator is the only one that lives up to the other VSTs I have on this system. The others are passable, but they're no better than the stock plugins. Saturator is actually really good and worth using. The others, they seem to just be a redundant space, really, as far as I'm concerned. So that's what's really disappointing me, is I expected these to be better quality than they are. You then have your sends, which I don't really need to go into. Now I'm just going to take that back down for a second and move it and get something playing so that we can get some meter activity. Very nice. I'm going to maximize that again and just give you a quick look at the channel overview. That to me is fairly redundant up there. I don't know why you'd need that when you can see all of your meters quite happily below. There's then a meter bridge. This is overkill, really. I'll get rid of both of them. You can look at your EQ curves separately from having the EQ down in the strip, so that's pretty good, although again you can accidentally click on it. One thing that is good, as you've probably noticed there, is the frequency curve. That's actually quite handy having that there to look at. Just get this stopped again now. Now that is as far as I want to go with showing you the mixer. Now, although I've just spent a while complaining about that, there are some good things. If we go back down to the bottom half of the screen here, where your pans are, you can turn panning on and off, as I've done here, grey it out. Now, I think that's a good idea. I wish they would do that with everything, so you could turn off the channel and keep it completely locked, but they haven't yet done that. One thing, again, a design flaw actually, is you can use your scroll wheel to scroll left and right, but unfortunately, see where I've highlighted this line here, if you then use your scroll wheel, it makes the fader go up and down, and you could be quite happily scrolling along when it stops as it did there and jumps a fader down, and if you don't remember where you had it, you've got to do some work to find that, because there's no undo feature, which I find very frustrating with. It has caught me out a lot, and it shouldn't be doing that. They've made this all a bit far too sensitive. Now the E section was something else I wanted to show you. What I'm actually going to do, close the mixer for now. Click on the E here. Now this is my mic channel, so we can see some activity here. I really like having the EQ curve there for that. We can also see the channel strip if I've decided to use anything, which of course you can see that I haven't. There's your option to look at the strip or your inserts here. I've brought up Curve EQ. This is one of the new VSTs they've included by Vox & Go, which I love their company. They really sound good. I know it looks very 70s, but the sound is brilliant, so a really nice addition that. Other than that, we've got sends. We can also customize this a bit if we wanted to, if we don't need to see that information, so it is nice the way you can customize your views a lot more. Q sends are something new for the control room mixer. They allow you to send alternative mixes to other buses. I don't really see the point of this for home studios, though. You may need to use this if you're running a studio, but in your bedroom or in your living room or dining room, wherever you've got your studio set up at home, I've very, very rarely come across anyone using the control room mixer at home, so fairly redundant for us. But that, I think, is a nice revamping of that section there. Now, I know this has been a bit of a complaint video, but really I wanted to show you the downside. I was very blown away when I saw all the demos for the mix console and stuff, but actually using it has caused me some frustration as well as having some good fun with it. So I just wanted to make you clear with that. But really, there are some great things Cubase 7 has come out with. The stock plugins do sound better than they did in Cubase 5. I can't speak for Cubase 6 because I didn't have it, but I do understand they've rewritten a lot of the algorithm rhythms in this program, and it certainly tells if you're upgrading from 5 or below. So the stock plugins sound better. The J-Bridger from 32-bit to 64-bit works perfectly. It didn't even exist in the first version of Cubase 5, and I had all sorts of trouble using third-party J-Bridging. This works really well now. I don't have any problems with my 32-bit VSTs, so that's a real bonus. The Saturation, as I said, they included in the strip, that's a really good bonus plugin on its own. It sounds great. The Halion Sonic SE new VST that they've added, I'll bring that up quickly. If you use the Halion 1 from Cubase 5, you still get that, but as you can see, far more complicated than the Halion 1. There are a lot of options. We look at the sound list here, you can see it goes on forever. We're still on the A's and B's there. It really does. Great option along with the Retrolog synth they added and the Pad Shop as well. So 3 really good new VST instruments there for you to work with. And finally, really the most important thing, although I complained about the mix console, they said they were trying to achieve a pro console sound, and that is one thing I feel they did do. And for me, I spent £200, which is about $300, upgrading from Cubase 5 to Cubase 7. I'll spend £200 on one VST plugin, and I would expect for £200 to get a good plugin that adds something to my mix. And the mix console, the way they've redone it, does add something to my mix. So for me, that £200 is worth the money. And to get all this other stuff as well, a lot of it's great. It does have its problems. I'll probably just get used to it, I'm sure. I wish they'd designed it a bit less sensitively, I suppose. Anyway, I hope that was some help, and I hope you have some fun with Cubase 7. Cheers.